Okay, we're live. Hello out there. Welcome to the Bubblegum Social Club. We're going to do something different today. I'm here with my friend John. Hi, John.
Hi.
We're discussing the new Joker in the movie. That name I can't remember because I get it confused with a different comic book. What is the name, John?
Suicide Squad.
Suicide Squad. There's another one that's like Secret Six or something.
I know there's JLA Dark.
I don't know, something, and then I'm like, oh, it starts with an S, so it must be one of those. Anyway, they're making a movie and it has the Joker in it, and they released the picture, and we were discussing it, and I was like, it'd be awesome if we would talk about it on the show. And John was like, I'd do that. And I was like, cool, let's do it right now. Only that was like a few weeks ago. So now we're doing it, and we're gonna talk about the Joker. And I wish I could show the picture, but I don't know how to do that. There's probably a way to do that. So just like Google Jared Leto Joker, and I'm sure you will figure it out. You have a phone, just use it, or your iPod Touch. Anyway.
I like to think that people in your community probably are a little up on these sorts of things.
I hope so.
Or they're not. I don't know.
I have a lot of friends who don't read comics, so I'm usually like the source of their information, of like the backstory in the comics, or like the real story that's inspiring it, and involves a lot of like Wikipedia and asking other people who know more than me questions, because I have like a baseline that's very simple. So all of my experiences with the Joker are basically from the movies and the cartoons, and I haven't really read that many comic books with the Joker in it that weren't like already deep into a story. I know that you know way more because you're kind of like my nerd like mentor, so you know.
Of course.
So what's your history with the Joker?
Well, we started dating around 1993. He was a handsome back then. To start things off, I've always been a bigger Marvel guy. That like, it was the Broken Bat and the Death of Superman that was like my first introduction into DC Comics. Okay. That and the animated series. Like, these were the things that started to get me, checking out the other side of things. So yeah, I definitely, like, the iconic Joker for me was either Jack Nicholson or Mark Hamill doing the voice in the animated series.
Yeah, the one that actually really, like, I don't think I thought that much about the Joker until that, it was like Batman Beyond cartoon, and they had like
yeah.
And then they had the movie. I mean, the Batman Beyond cartoon was pretty silly, but it was also pretty awesome, I think. And they had the movie special that they did where like the Joker sort of came back. And I remember watching that and being terrified, which is like, we've already established I'm easily terrified, so that's not a special thing. But it was like I think it was the first time that I really remember thinking, oh, he's really scary. I'm very terrified of this guy now.
Yeah, as time went on and I became just like a teenager and slowly moving into young adult, becoming more of a comic book fan where I'm not just kind of being like thrown around by my own fancy, but actually wanting to learn more about the characters in the universe. This is when people started telling me different things like, oh, well, you should read this book called, this short story called Killing Joke by Alan Moore. And I was like, oh, it's about the Joker, it must be hilarious. And no, it is terrifying. It was like this historic moment in the comic book when somebody like Alan Moore went, so comic books are silly things. I do like silly things, but I'm also a really good writer and want to write serious things. I know, I'll put the two of them together. And I'll say, okay, so you have this silly Joker guy. What if I made him terrifying? It like that was like one of my first introduction to like a really like the depth that can exist in these characters.
Yeah, I haven't read that one yet, and I kind of don't want to because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get super freaked out when I do.
Yeah, it's gnarly.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like I don't know. There's so many things that are far more grotesque now, but it was like the first time that it was really trying to push the boundaries of, hey, so bad guys aren't just bad guys. They're actually nasty people similar to the villains that you would get in real life, like serial killers and rapists. And he just, put that whole patina on top of what was growing to be a more three-dimensional character, but he fully rounded things off to give you a different perspective.
Yeah, actually, I don't think I realized that that was the point where he became super scary, and that wasn't before. I think I thought that that was in a context of him already being super scary, so I didn't know that that was like the turning point. So thank you for that.
Well, this is also, all right, so again, I'm like a DC noob, so I know that once upon a time, it could have been, I think it might have been before this, the whole like where he kills Jason Todd, the second Robin, where he like beats him to death with a crowbar.
Oh, yeah, lovely.
So that's pretty gnarly, but it just like even that I think was like it was really gnarly. But Alan Moore just in his Alan Mooresian way had his own twist on really like selling it to you.
Yeah, and I think even in the cartoons, which I didn't watch for some reason growing up, it never occurred to me to like ask what time is this show on so I can watch it regularly. I don't know why. So I only would catch it like here and there when there'd be like mini marathons of things. It's like a trend that continues to this day where I'm like, oh, this show's cool. I'll watch this marathon, but only like 3 to 4 episodes and then I'll never watch it again.
Wait, of Batman the Animated Series?
Well, that was, I mean, like growing up, I would see it, but I never watched it consistently because I didn't realize that I could like ask, oh, can I watch this show during these periods of time when it's on? I just was like, oh, hey, it's on. I'll watch this now. So it wasn't like until much later than everybody else that I realized that the show was on and I could watch it. So I never like watched it in any kind of order or anything. So, but like that Joker, he did seem to swing to me from, you know, silly to scary and being mean in a way that I think you wouldn't expect. I think it was the switch off like that made him a more interesting, and I think in a way three-dimensional bad guy than I had noticed in any of the other episodes. I wasn't really, you know, yeah.
Well, even that twist, and this is why you called me, because I based my entire life off of being able to get home in time to watch Batman the Animated Series and Gargoyles. Like that was how everything else operated, is around that. But yeah, it was interesting that they did that show it was an amazing show. It was an award-winning show. And even the design, Bruce Timm, who designed the Joker in that cartoon, he's still a regular person, but the way he designed him was, if I'm remembering this correctly, it was like black eyes with white pupils. And it was just like that extra little bit. He already has the white skin and the green hair and stuff like that, but it was that extra little bit to make you realize that, oh, he's so funny. He is like inhuman.
Yeah, yeah. And he would always, I mean, I think he was one of the villains that really would do, I feel like there's like that classic villain thing where it's like, you know, like he's laughing and then he punches the guy next, you know, like he shoots somebody. But when the Joker did it, it really was jarring because you really didn't know when it was going to happen. With most villains, you get the beat. You already know. You've seen it a million times. Like, okay, yes, he's going to laugh, and then that guy's going to get it because he was really being, you know, insubordinate and blah, blah, blah. But with the Joker, you're like, he doesn't have a reason to do that ever, and you really don't know when he's going to decide to just turn all of a sudden. So that was, yeah. I thought I got that from the cartoon, definitely. And then I saw the Batman movie, the Jack Nicholson Joker, much later, as with most things. And he was definitely scary. But the thing with that is that Jack Nicholson is also scary. So I don't know. I don't know what I was responding to in that.
I just imagine like Tim Burton when he was casting that movie, and they're just like, all right, so who are we going to get to play this guy? We're going to play this guy, and the Joker come up was like, Jack Nicholson, I must have him. It's just like watching The Shining and sitting there just being like putting a green marker on his hair on his TV screen at home, being like, here he is.
Yeah, that seems about right. Yeah, and I think that in that movie, I haven't seen it in such a long time, but in that movie, he did also a lot of things that you weren't expecting that would very quickly turn to terrifying, like from funny to terrifying very quickly.
Yeah.
Like disfiguring people, which I remember just definitely not expecting that at all.
Yeah.
Not fun. And then, okay, so after that, what about the Joker in the Batman TV show?
You mean, was Cesar Romero?
Yeah.
Well, he was like, I don't know, he was the classic Joker. That was like super campy 70s Batman where like everything was more of like a big joke. Where he wasn't like, you know, terrifying, menacing Joker. He was just like, oh, Penguin, let's do this. Like, wah, wah. Like it was just like, they were just like I don't know, like a cabaret show more than they were villains. Like, I'll rob this bank, giant dollar sign sack.
Yeah.
Drop it with you criminals. It's like nothing about that was scary. So that was definitely more in line with like the comic.
But it still had that. It still was very charming. I think that's the thing is that like, for me, the Joker, I don't know. I was reading Batgirl for a while when I think Gail Simone was writing it, and it was just like really gory, and I was like, I can't. It's not what I want to read. But I feel like the silly aspect always needs to be there for it to balance out a little bit, for there to be the unexpected part.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
I mean, he's a Joker. Without his jokes, he would just be, I don't know, a Saw sequel.
Yeah, that's true. I think that's the thing is that like I feel like that's what I was reading in the Batgirl comic. I was like, I can't. This is not what I signed up for, so I'm not going to buy this anymore. And then we have the Christopher Nolan Joker in the movies.
Yes.
And how much do you think that changed, like, either perceptions or the way people wrote the Joker?
Well, I think a lot of it was based off of Killing Joke, Alan Moore's story, because it delves more into the character of the Joker, less as like just like, I'm going to get rich, time to rob some banks. I have my Joker theme, and that's all I need. And it's like the Penguin comes in, he's like, wah, wah, I have a Penguin theme, and I'm going to rob banks. It was like, he just wasn't like another guy in a costume who just wanted money.
Right.
Like, he was this entity. He was this creature.
Yeah, he's like a chaotic force in the movie.
Yeah, and that's kind of what brings us to the conversation about Jared Leto as the Joker. Because, again, now I do have to preface this with saying we haven't seen the movie.
Right.
In fact, I think articles have come out recently that some people are saying, like, no, that's actually not the Joker. Like, that isn't the design we're going with. Whether, I don't know who to believe at this point, because I think it was the director who first released that picture.
I'm pretty sure that I believe the director's been releasing a lot of pictures on Twitter, and that's kind of been like the source of information, which I think is funny for reasons I can't really explain. But I'm like, okay, Twitter, like everything from Star Wars to like, you know, all of this Suicide Squad is all like on Twitter. That's like pictures with like no comments usually too.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. I guess I have no context for this or know how to react to it, but sure, let's go. Awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but well, you were talking about how it's you're going to automatically compare it to the Christopher Nolan Joker, no matter what. And I don't know if you saw this, but there was, because they released the picture of like the whole cast, and that Harley Quinn is there, and she has like tattooed eyes, which I think look weird because they look like somebody just sort of drew on her with a pencil, and I'm like, can't they be like bigger and louder, because that's kind of how she is. Like her, so. But there was some drawings somewhere, and I don't know if this is like a real thing or not, but of her giving like the Joker tattoos. So I don't know if that's part of it. Yeah, I don't know. I have no idea. Like, this is all like, again, we don't even know what a trailer looks like. We know nothing except for what the trailer looks like.
But this is what they want. I mean, they know that they're not releasing a trailer. They know that they're just kind of like, you know, putting little drips out into the internet so that we can go, give it. What is this?
Exactly.
Yeah, because that's what we do. But so to just get it out of, like, to set the ground of the conversation is that not happy with the picture. Like, it wasn't something that you're just like, oh man, yes. Because even like when I first heard that Jared Leto was going to be the Joker, it was like, oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I can see that. Like, I could see them being able to twist that around in a really cool way.
Yeah, I actually don't know much about Jared Leto. I read this fashion blog called Tom and Lorenzo, and they kept calling him Rocker Pixie Jesus, and that was like the extent of my knowledge of Jared Leto. That's when he had like the long hair and the beard. And so, but when they did announce that, I was like, I can see that. Like, oh, maybe this will be good. Like, I know nothing about him, but like, I can see seems like an interesting guy. So I don't know. And then when they released the picture, I was like, I really have no idea how to feel about this. So of course that's when I ask you, how do I feel about this?
Well, I never tell you how to feel.
No,
I just give my opinion and try to explain it as well as I can. And yeah, so it was not happy with it. And I think it does come with like a balance, which is that when we first saw the Heath Ledger Joker, it was, I mean, when I heard that Heath Ledger was going to play the Joker, that was like my first, what are you talking about? You mean that Knight's Tale guy? No, thank you. Try again. Yeah. It's like, well, actually, just recast Gary Oldman as the Joker. It's okay. Nobody will remember he was Commissioner Gordon. It's fine. But I mean, ultimately, we were very pleasantly surprised with what happened.
Yeah, amazing.
But now, oh yeah, totally. But if I'm to go back in time and have a conversation with myself when I'm going like, Heath Ledger, bleh, look at this stupid, like, cut up, like, mangle-faced Joker. What's his deal? I now have, like, I've seen it a trillion times. And you can see how what Christopher Nolan did with the Joker character is he took it a step further than Alan Moore did. He took the character and he kind of, in his trying to create this believable universe where a man conceivably could become a Batman. And I mean, there's always going to be pitfalls, but
yeah,
really trying to like polish it up as much as he can to make it believable. Then he comes to the place where he is faced with, all right, so what about the Joker? So I know the movie and the cartoon version, which is he was like a mobster,
right.
That like fell in chemicals and had botched plastic surgery, and the chemical fumes or something made him crazy. So it's kind of like, no, that's comic books, whatever. Like that's just how comic books go. I mean, the most popular character is called the Wolverine, which is just a giant badger. So comic books take silly things and make really cool things out of them. But
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan,
well, then they get it wrong because Wolverine is always hanging out with wolves, and you're like, no, that's not.
It would be funny if he was like scratching around on the ground with Wolverines, like digging a hole. That's badgers. I don't know if Wolverines dig holes. Do they climb trees? Anyway.
I actually don't know.
Yeah.
Next time we'll do a special on Wolverine.
Look at that, like one of the most popular comic book characters of all time, and we can't even show the animal, the reference material, the respect it deserves.
I just know that they're nasty and they're badger sized. And I think they move very quickly, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah, and they're supposed to be really nasty.
Yeah, like super, super nasty.
Yeah. Anyway, so yeah, so silly character who does silly things, and he's crazy, but like whatever. Christopher Nolan, he took that concept because he knew, okay, everybody knows that he's Batman's arch nemesis, but just some crazy mobster guy, I mean, that isn't a worthy arch nemesis for somebody who is like, you know, this brilliant, capable martial artist, billionaire, tech genius, like vigilante. Like that just wouldn't fly in his universe, and it doesn't make for the interesting story that he's trying to tell.
Yeah.
And so all the changes that he made to the Joker, he put a lot of work and thought into to really try and come up with, okay, so you have this good guy who no longer can take the criminal element in his city that killed his parents. He's going to stand up and do something about it. And to do something about it, he's kind of the first guy that takes a step in the crazy direction. He puts on a bat costume.
Yeah.
He hunts people at night. And so it was like, oh, okay, well then the antithesis to this character needs to be something also crazy, but it can't be good crazy, and it can't just be recklessly bad crazy, because there's no drama really in that. I mean, just like some maniac psychopath, like he would swoop down into an alley, punch him, and take him to jail, like the end.
Yeah, that's boring.
Yeah, exactly. So he had to like find like what's a good, like how can I create a character that can rival Batman, but is also crazy, but is also evil, but not simplistically evil. Mm-hmm. That that he just wants to rob banks. And that's where all the changes that he made, like the weird scars and stuff like that, really do give him this mystique of like, where have you come from?
Yeah, and then he keeps telling the story in a different way about where he got it from, which...
Oh, yeah. When I was watching the movie and he does the first story where he was just like, I got these scars. And I sat there, I was like, oh, man, come on, movie. It's almost like Wolverine status at this point in the comic books. Yeah, Killing Joke kind of touched on it, but he's supposed to have like this really mysterious backstory. And I was like, you blew it. You just explained it and blew it.
Yeah.
And then he did the second story and I was like, oh, that's so good. Oh, it's so good.
Yeah, that was me. Like, I remember that. I've seen the movie way fewer times than you have, and I remember all of those parts so clearly. Like, they're just very much imprinted in my head. And yeah, and then you were talking about the money fire scene. I could explain that better, but you go for it.
Oh yeah, that was again, all the problems that I had mentioned bringing to the table of this Joker character were so nicely summed up in that scene. Just because, so he had robbed a bank. He has millions and millions of dollars. Well, millions and millions of dollars. I'm pretty sure.
A pyramid of money. It was a lot of money.
A huge pyramid of money. And he just sets it on fire.
Yeah.
And it was really at that point that you knew he was crazy, but now that totally takes him outside of the common criminal element. And he becomes, because he is human, but it's at that point that you no longer are able to just be like, oh, well, yeah, you're some guy who went crazy and now you want money and for drugs or I don't know, whatever. And he all of a sudden became this thing that you're like, I don't know what you want. What are you? Like he doesn't want sex. He doesn't want money. He doesn't want, like, he becomes, he goes from being human to being inhuman.
Yeah.
And that's what Christopher Nolan did so well, is that he created this amazing, larger than life Joker that truly was the counter to Batman.
Yeah, and I think that another part of it, like you said, it's not just being crazy, it's that every certain moment of time in the story, you felt like you could figure out what he was going for. And I think that's what gets me in the what I know of the Joker story is that, like, there is a consistency there and you feel like you can figure it out if you just pay attention long enough. But the longer you pay attention, the closer you are to dying.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Yeah. And I think with this one, like when I saw, because I take the train to work and I see my share of people that I'm like, okay, should I sit here or should I sit really far away? Which will I pick? How dangerous do I feel like living today? And I feel like the Jared Leto image that we saw, I kind of feel like, well, I'm just going to keep an eye on that guy and then just be ready to like bolt if I need to, and I don't know if like an initial image like that is necessary to like instill a kind of like deep-seated, just unsettled fear, like I don't know what reaction I was really looking for, because I was like, well, because in my head I was like, well, that I didn't like the laughter tattoos. Like I thought that was cool because it looked kind of weird, but like the other tattoos, the other tattoos look so normal, and I was like, but why? Immediately I was like, the other ones I kind of get because they look kind of distorted, but the ones that looked to me normal, I was like, but I guess the story is that he's coming from prison, and that explains some of the tattoos. That's what I heard or read somewhere.
Okay, so I mentioned if I was able to go back to younger Jonathan and assuage all of his anger about Heath Ledger Joker, I then truly am like, okay, so how can I listen to future Jonathan from this Joker? Like, what can I take away from this image that maybe they're making better decisions? And the thing is that it just doesn't, I don't know, the whole, like the tattoos, the hair, I guess he is more modern looking, but not in a, oh, okay, we're just updating the character for the modern age. He's very hip looking.
Yeah, almost like in a few years it's going to be dated immediately.
Yeah, he loses that power, that like the different qualities that again Nolan was able to bring to it. he loses all of those qualities. He kind of just looks like some punk rocker on angel dust. And it's like, I know people on the internet have said, hey, like the Joker could never sit still long enough to get tattoos. And then people counter with Jim Lee's Batman and Robin, where I guess he has a giant dragon tattoo on his back. I don't know. I stopped reading that comic after the first few issues.
Yeah, that seems odd.
Yeah, it just, and now that we're getting other shots of other characters, and we have our trailer of Man of Steel versus the Batman.
Yes.
Like, I'm sitting here kind of crunching the math of, okay, what's DC thinking right now? And it seems to just be in a complete jumble over where its cinematic universe is trying to go.
Yeah.
And this Joker feels to me more like the older, like late 90s, early 90s way of looking at comic book movies, which is just like, nah, just change them a whole bunch, make them seem really hip for a newer generation, and it'll make money. Like, nobody actually wants to see a comic book rendition of comic book movies. They want to see, like, we want to get Joe and Jane America who hadn't read the comics, and maybe they're really into punk rock and tattoos because all you hip kids really like them. So it just seems, yeah, it seems less like the well manicured, well thought out Heath Ledger Joker and more like a cash grab, make him real hip and the kids will love him.
Yeah, well, the thing is that I think a lot of this isn't, because with the Christopher Nolan movies, I feel like, I don't know, for me, obviously you knew way more about it than when they came out. I was just like, oh, cool, this looks like a good Batman movie. And so there wasn't really like a precedent set other than Tim Burton and the cartoons. And so I think a lot of people weren't really like thinking too much. I mean, I'm sure a lot of the nerds were, but in general, it wasn't like, oh, what context do we have for this? It was like, okay, well, let's see what happens. And then for this, it's like, well, we already had amazing Batman movies, and now we're having these Superman movies that don't seem to go with what we think Superman is. And then, kind of like, I had hope for the Batman versus Superman. I haven't even seen Man of Steel, first off, because
really?
I didn't go see it, and then everybody was talking about it, and I was like, I feel like I'm going to be so sad after I watch this, and I don't know if I have it in me to like actually make myself sit down and watch it.
But it has this buff Superman guy for the ladies.
No. Actually, that's funny though, because the guy who plays Superman, don't remember his name, he is in that like Man from U.N.C.L.E. trailer, and I was like, oh, he's very attractive in this movie. For some reason, as Superman, I'm like, oh yeah, cool, he's a dude, he's buff, that's awesome. And then in the Man from U.N.C.L.E., I was like, oh my god, I have to watch that now. I have no idea what it is, but I need to watch it right now. So I don't know what that is, but with what's his name as Batman, I actually had hope that it would be kind of fun, because I thought it would be sort of like grumpy dad Batman, which is not a good explanation. I don't know.
Man Steel versus Batman is like a whole other conversation that I could go off on.
I know, but I'm just saying, like,
DC's, yeah, what they're trying to do and what I see as their decision-making process.
Which is really terrible. But the thing is that, like, we're looking at it and we're just saying, like, what are you guys doing? Like, this is consistent in the worst way possible. Like, you don't need to be this consistent, and why are you making it worse? And then the Suicide Squad comes along, and they actually look very different to me than this, like, the other, everything else in the DC movie verse has so far. And I kind of like, I'm actually excited about seeing that movie, and I know like next to nothing about most of the characters, which is one of the reasons why I'm excited about the movie. And so, but we do have this like history of the Christopher Nolan Batman being really good. And then we have this, and we're like, but we just had the good one. Why are you giving us this one that looks like just very blatant, like, oh, be scared of me? And you're like, but I like the other one that was way more subtle, and then I was terrified. Well, I don't want to be scared up front. I need like the things to build up.
Yeah, I mean, again, I don't know what they're gonna do with it.
I mean, I think he's the bad guy in the movie. Like, I just sort of gathered that he might be the bad guy in the movie.
Maybe. Who, the Joker?
Yeah, right? Is that?
Actually, all right, so the Suicide Squad, I don't know. It's like a a gaggle of villains that all get together for, I don't know, funsies.
Well, it's
like Deadeye, or no, Deadshot, Bane, and a bunch of other people that always kind of like, I always go, do you guys really team up? Is that a thing? I mean, it's cool if you guys want to team up, but you just seem like very antisocial people.
Yeah. Well, I know that I forgot her name, Viola Davis's character.
Harley Quinn.
No, Viola Davis. What? The African American actress. She plays a character who is in the DC universe who's like a really strong, loud African American woman who's like in charge of a bunch of. She's a villain and she's like very powerful and she wears business suits. And I don't know exactly what she does. I know that she's very heavy set in some comics and very skinny in some other comics, and people have opinions about that. But anyway, I know that I'm pretty sure she's the one who kind of gets them all together and goes to get the Joker out of jail. I don't know how I know this. Let me just say, I spent so much time on like just random internet and it just absorbs. But so that's what I've heard. I have no idea if any of that's true, but that's what I've heard. So, but the thing is that like in the picture that they released of like everybody together, the Joker isn't there. And I don't know if that's an indication of story. If that's like, say, try to recruit the Joker and then he just does whatever he wants, which sounds the most likely thing. But I don't know. Did you see the Harley Quinn costume?
Yeah, I mean, after the Joker thing, I kind of, again, it's nothing that I love. It's nothing that I hate. It's kind of at a point of like, okay, well, that seems to match all the other images that I've seen for this movie up until this point. And like, honestly, this is something that I was talking with a buddy of mine about after seeing the Fantastic Four trailers, is because I initially just, the second I found out Dr. Doom was a blogger, I went into like a fit of nerd rage, and then I had to calm myself down, and I just went, you know what? In all honesty, I truly hope that these movies are good. Like I really hope these movies are good. Not because I think they're going to be good, but I hope that they're good because it would be really nice to live in this, nerddom where I can see that version of the Joker and I can see that version of Dr. Doom.
Your face, you're just like, I'm resisting it so hard, but trying to be nice.
Oh my! I just want one good Dr. Doom in the movies. You see the trailer for Age of Ultron, and he's like in the throne, and you see like his big Robo gauntlet hand, and I'm sitting there like, that's what I want, but a big green cape.
Yeah, no, I didn't know much about Dr. Doom until I've been listening to Rachel and Miles explain the X-Men, and if you want to learn about the X-Men, totally listen to that. Everybody out there who may or may not be watching this. And they talk about Dr. Doom a lot for an X-Men podcast. And I was like, man, Dr. Doom's kind of totally awesome. I didn't really know. I just didn't know anything about Dr. Doom. And when he was in the initial, the first Fantastic Four movies that they made, I was just like, I'm not impressed at all.
It was like Nip Tuck guy who, while he did come from Latveria, they like gave him a ceremonial mask sculpture that happened to fit his face really well. I don't know.
It didn't make like I didn't understand why he was mad. He just seemed like a whiny baby and not like a very powerful whiny baby, at least. Like if he has to be a whiny baby, at least make me scared,
Yeah.
I was like, you just seem like you need a good talking to, and then you'll like stop. That's what it seems like. And I don't. And then same thing when they found out that it was a blogger. I was like, why? That makes no sense. Are bloggers just generally very angry people who seek vengeance? Because I could maybe go into that with that in mind,
but not Dr. Doom, not the Dr. Doom.
And then I was reading something else where they were talking about how like, why do we have to have Dr. Doom in every movie? Why can't we have some other villains and then like wait so we can have a good Dr. Doom? Why do we insist on like butchering it when? Anyway, I just want Namor in a movie. That's all I want.
Huh. Oh no, we already did Captain America's past, so who knows when he could possibly show up.
Flashbacks?
Yeah, maybe. It would be weird if they were just like, oh, and by the way, yeah, there was that other super guy back then. But he's gone now. But I guess that would be a very comic book thing to do. Like, oh, that's right. I almost forgot. There was this giant undersea prince guy and a guy who was on fire and all these other heroes. We just didn't want to talk about them before. They didn't get frozen. They're not cool.
What's funny is that I've actually been acquiring a lot of comic book history knowledge via fan fiction. People like rewriting stuff to fit in their own like ships, and then I'm like, oh, is that what happened to the original comics? Oh, okay.
I have good digital copies of like all the classics. If you
Oh,
want
wow.
to go back to Timely Atlas, let me tell you something. They're worth, like, the ads alone are worth reading these books. But yeah, but anyway, I truly hope that they're good, because I want to live in that world, that nerd world, where I can see these renditions and be like, oh wow, well, where's this gonna take me? Like, if they're really good, then it's kind of like just a different artist working on a book. Like, you can be sad that, you know, Mike Mignola left Hellboy, but then when you have Duncan F something like take over, like, you can be disappointed at first, but then you're just like, whoa, wait a minute, this guy's awesome too. Like, I truly hope that these movies are good.
Yeah, I think
then I get to get excited more.
Yeah, I think part of the problem is that we are in a constant state of worrying that we're not going to get any more good ones, that like one bad one is going to come along and ruin it for everything else.
Yeah.
Like Ant-Man, I know a lot of people, I know people are looking forward to it and there are people who hate it, but I just get like heartburn just being like, for some reason I'm like half convinced that if Ant-Man doesn't do well, I'm not going to get a Captain Marvel movie. I don't know why.
That's because Marvel has been so, they're like this little kid who keeps getting away with stuff, and they're just like, oh, okay, cool, I'm gonna try a little bit further. Because like the entire build up to the Avengers, first off, was very ambitious, that they would have all these movies with this crescendo of an actual like team up movie at the end. That was a huge financial, I'm sure they were kind of shaky about it, and then they not only do they pull it off, but they blow it out of the water. And so everybody's like, hooray, giant comic book movie team up, it's amazing. And they're like, yeah, now for our new movie, it's about a talking raccoon and tree. And people went like, are you drunk? Are you are you sure you don't want to just do like, I don't know, a Moon Knight movie or something? And they're like, no, talking raccoon and tree. And then it's super successful, and so everybody's like, oh my god, I can't believe Marvel pulled it off again. They're like, yeah, this is gonna be great. Now we're gonna do a movie called Ant-Man. And they're like, Ant-Man, that's even gonna be more hilarious than that raccoon character. And they're like, no, it's gonna be serious. It's like, oh my god, Marvel, what are you doing? Like, they're like testing the water in every direction just to see like how much they can dominate the Hollywood comic realm.
Yeah. Well, I just want the Captain Marvel movie like so bad. And it was gonna come out on my birthday, and then stupid Spider-Man is like, oh sorry, I get another movie, third time's a charm, and they got bumped Captain Marvel, but that's okay because Black Panther is now coming out on my birthday.
Aww. Wait, you saw Avengers 2?
Yes.
We got all that nice Black Panther build-up.
Oh, I know. I was so excited. Very excited. And I know nothing about Black Panther, and I'm so excited.
Huh.
Yeah. I don't know. Ant-Man is, I think it's supposed to be funny, but every time I see the trailer, I'm like, I've seen this joke like 5 times. So can you do something new?
Yeah, well, I'm sure all of them are like a combination between comedy and action. This one just seems to be a little bit more like heavy on the, I don't know, the drama of the man.
Yeah, but it's just such a boring man, and I just
I don't know. Again, we just have to sit back and go, all right, well, you've done everything pretty darn well so far. Let's see what you got.
Yeah. All right. So I guess we should wrap it up now since we're kind of tangenting up.
Yeah.
Like you do. And so basically, we're not totally impressed with the new Joker, but we hold out hope that we will be proven wrong, kind of like I was with Chris Evans.
Ah, exactly. Good example.
And Mark Ruffalo.
Actually, also a good example.
Yeah. So, you know, we are critical, but we have hope.
Such is our nerdly duty.
Exactly. All right. Well, thank you so much for talking to me about all this stuff. And I'm going to have to bring you back so we can talk some more about other characters.
Yeah, happy to do it.
Awesome. All right. I will talk to you later.